Hello listeners and viewers. Welcome to Kaduna State Ministry of Education Radio and TV e-learning program designed for our SS3 and other students staying at home due to the coronavirus pandemic. The present administration, under the able leadership of His Excellency, Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, is positioned, as always, to ensure that under his leadership, our students are not left behind in all areas of human endeavors, especially education. Kaduna State is the center of learning. Therefore, we want to ensure that our students excel in their forthcoming examinations and beyond. Students and other learners at home are given this opportunity in order to continue learning, as education is a continuous process. Different subjects will be taught in this program to assist students to perform excellently in the forthcoming Senior School Certificate examination being conducted by NECO and WAEC as soon as schools reopen. Teachers making presentations will always provide their names and phone numbers during each presentation, and they can be contacted for questions, further explanations, and/or clarifications. The following numbers and contacts can also be reached for expression of any concern or observation: 090-865-00545 or 080-383-62072. Our website is www.education.kdsg.gov.ng. Our email education@kdsg.gov.ng or education.kdsg@gmail.com. Our YouTube channel, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Our Twitter handle @Kaduna_MOE. Or our Facebook page, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Stay safe, stay at home, and learn well. Thank you, happy listening, and happy viewing.
Good day, learners at home. Once again, you are welcome to another segment of e-learning organized by Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. I still remain Thomas Peter, and here this morning to present a lesson in agricultural science with the topic Soil 2, because we have done Soil 1. So it will be a continuation. In the course of this lesson, we shall cover only 2 items. 1, processes of soil formation. I said processes of soil formation. And 2, factors affecting soil formation. Factors affecting soil formation. But before we go into the processes of soil formation, let us make a reference to our earlier topic, Soil 1, where we define soil as the uppermost layer of the earth's surface, which supports the life of plants and animals. We even went to the extent of identifying the types of soil and their characteristics. We also went to the extent to define or identify the components of soil and their significance in the soil. But today, we are discussing the continuation of this lesson. Now, the processes of soil formation is generally known as weathering. What did I say? The processes of soil formation is generally known as weathering. This means that these processes involve weather condition. The word weathering is from the word weather. And we are going to see the elements of weather and how they affect the processes of soil formation. Now, let us define weathering. Weathering is the gradual disintegration or breaking down of rocks into tiny pieces by some agents in order to form soil. Now, we have types of weathering. We have three main types of weathering, namely, we have physical weathering, 2, chemical weathering, and 3, biological weathering. I take it again. I said we have physical weathering, chemical weathering, and biological weathering. We shall take this type of weathering one after the others. Of course, the first one is physical weathering. Physical weathering occurs with the help of the following agents. 1, temperature. 2, wind. 3, ice, rather known as glacier. Then 4, water. We shall discuss the 4 agents and how they affect physical weathering. Temperature. The alternating heating and cooling of the rock minerals produce pressure within the rock, and these pressures weaken the rock, thereby forcing it to break down into pieces. Here in the rock, there are different types of minerals, and they have different temperature to expand. So with the different temperature to expand, the alternating expansion causes pressure on the rock, thereby forcing the rock to break into smaller particles. Wind. The wind carries solid materials which collide or hit and wear the rock surface, thereby forcing the rock to break down into smaller pieces to form soil. Then we have ice or glacier. The conversion of water into ice in the rock crevices or gaps leads to increase in volume with at least 10%, which gives the rock more pressure and eventually force it to break into smaller pieces in order to form soil. On top of mountains or rocks, there are hanging valleys. And when it rains, water will be collected in these gaps. At the end of the day, because of changes in temperature, this water will change to ice. And it is said that when this water changes to ice, it increases in volume. And the increases in volume created pressure which will force the mountain to break into pieces. Then the next one is water. Running water carries fragments which wear of rocks surfaces along the riverbed, thereby forcing them to break into pieces in order to form soil. Then the next type of weathering is chemical weathering. Chemical weathering takes place when rainwater reacts with atmospheric gases like oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon to form oxide of chemicals products like hydrogen oxide, nitrogen oxide, and carbon dioxide, respectively. These oxide chemical products dissolve the rock and make it weak, thereby forcing the rock to break into smaller pieces to form soil. The chemical process of weathering can take place in 5 steps or in 5 ways. The first one is hydration, followed by carbonation. Then we have oxidation. Then the fourth one is hydrolysis. Then the fifth one is solution. I take them again. We have hydration, carbonation, oxidation, hydrolysis, and solution. We shall see them one after the other. Hydration. This occurs when water combines or binds with some oxide of iron which are easily fragmented, forcing the rock to break into pieces. Carbonation. This is the combination of rainwater with carbon to form carbonic acid, which weakens this rock and force it to break into smaller pieces in order to form soil. Then we have oxidation. This is the combination of oxygen with minerals that contains iron. For example, manganese and sulfur to oxides of iron, which are acidic, thereby weakening the rock and force it to break into pieces. Then we have hydrolysis. This is the breaking down of chemical bond in minerals of the rock by water, thereby helping to weaken the rock and break it into pieces to form soil. Then we have the last one, which is solution. This is the process by which water dissolves any soluble minerals present in the rock and carry it from the place of reaction if the land is slopey. But if the land is not slopey, the dissolved minerals accumulate there to form a particular soil type. Then the next type of weathering is biological process. That is biological weathering. This is the process by which the activities of plants, man, and animals help in the breaking down of rocks to form soil. Living organisms like earthworm, termites, rats, rabbits dig or burrows the soil, thereby helping the rock to break into smaller particles. The activities of man during farming and mining, like plowing, using animals, and tractors, help in breaking down the rock into smaller pieces in order to form soil. Some trees are seen growing on top of rocks, and their roots penetrate the rock, thereby forcing the rock to break apart into smaller pieces in order to form soil. Factors affecting soil formation. Soil formation is greatly influenced by 5 major factors, which are 1. Climate. In other words, we call the factors climatic factors. 2. Parent material. 3. Topography. 4. Living organisms, otherwise known as biotic factor. Then the last factor is time. Then we shall discuss these factors one after the other. Climate. This is the average weather condition of the environment over a long period of time. The elements of climate that affect soil formation are rainfall, temperature, wind, and pressure. Parent materials. The parent materials are those materials that are found either in igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic rocks. The parent materials in these rocks determine the chemical composition, the fertility, texture, and structure of the soil that will be formed. This means that when a soil is made from igneous rock, it is usually very, very hard. Mostly it is sandy soil. Then we have the topography. This denotes or means the shape of the ground in relation to the underlying rock of the earth's surface. The shape of the land influences the movement of water in the soil, which will affect soil formation. Hilling and slopy land supports erosion and encourages soil formation. This means that the type of soil found at hilling areas is different from the type of soil found at a valley. Flat land creates waterlogging, which delays soil formation. And waterlogging is mostly found in clay soil. The topography of the land also affects the distribution of plants and animals, which influences soil formation. The topography of the land will also affect the type of soil to be formed at the hill or at a valley, as I said earlier. The next factors of soil formation is biotic factors, otherwise known as living organisms. What are the effects of living organisms in soil formation? The activities of man and some living organisms like termites, earthworm, millipedes, cricket, nitrobacter, nitrosomonas, to mention but a few, help to speed up the processes of soil formation. They help in aerating the soil. They also allow water into the soil by the holes they make. They help in decomposition of organic matter in the soil. Yes, when dead bodies of plants and animals die, they are converted to ammonia by ammonifiers, microorganisms known as ammonifiers. These ammonifiers will change the dead bodies of plants and animals to ammonia. And nitrosomonas, microorganisms in the soil, will change the ammonia to nitrates. Nitrate is still poisonous in the soil. The plant cannot absorb it, so it has to be converted to nitrates before the plant can absorb it. And the conversion of these nitrates to nitrate to nitrate is done by nitrobacter. And the process all is known as nitrification. They produce carbon dioxide, which combine with water to form carbonic acid that influences soil formation. Man involves himself in farming and mining activities, which break rocks into smaller particles. The last factor of soil formation is time. Time plays a significant role in soil formation because, one, it takes time for rocks to be broken into smaller pieces to form soil. Especially if it is igneous rock, it takes time. It also takes time to form matured and immatured soil. No matter how big a rock particle is, it will be broken into smaller particles. So it takes time. It also takes time for organic matter to be decomposed to become part of the soil. For a dead body of plants and animals to be converted from ammonia to nitrate, and from nitrate to nitrite to become part of the soil, it takes time. So, now, we have come to the end of the lesson, but I want us to make a revision of the topic we have just discussed. Now, in the course of this lesson, I told you that the processes of soil formation is called weathering. And I said weathering is the gradual disintegrations of rocks or breaking of this rock into smaller particles in order to form soil. I went further to identify the types of weathering we have. And I said we had three. One, physical weathering. 2, chemical weathering. And lastly, biological weathering. We also went to the extent of discussing these types of weathering one after the other. 1, the physical weathering occurs with the help of the following agents, which we said temperature, wind, ice or glacier, and water. And we discussed this, how temperature helps in breaking down the rocks. We say the alternating heating and cooling of the rock minerals produce pressure within the rock, and this pressure weakens the rock, thereby forcing it to break down into pieces. And we said wind carries along with it solid materials, and these solid materials hit standing rock, thereby wearing it off into smaller particles. That is, the processes of soil formations has commenced. We also discussed ice or glacier. Ice is in small quantity, but glacier is a big body of water turning to ice, and when it moves, it wears away the rocks. And we say that when water is collected in the gaps of a mountain or a rock, it increases in volume with 10%. And this volume will create a pressure on the rock, and the rock will start breaking into smaller pieces in order to form soil. We say running water carries fragments which wear off rock surfaces along the river bed, thereby forcing them to break into pieces in order to form soil. We also discussed the chemical process, and I told you that the chemical process is occurring through 5 processes, which are: 1, we say hydration, carbonation, oxidation, hydrolysis, and solution. We also discuss them one after the other. And we say hydration occurs when water combines or binds with the soil some oxides of iron, which are easily fragmented, forcing the rock to break into pieces. And we say carbonation is the combination of rainwater with carbon to form carbonic acids, which weaken the rock and force it to break into smaller pieces. Then oxidation is the combination of oxygen with minerals that contains iron, for example, manganese and sulfur, to oxide of ions, which are acidic, thereby weakening the rock and force it to break into pieces. Hydrolysis, we also said, is the breaking down of chemical bond in minerals of the rock by water, thereby helping it to weak the rock and break it into pieces. Solution. This is the process by which water dissolves any soluble minerals present in rocks and carry it from the place of reaction if the land is slopy. But if the land is not slopy, the dissolved minerals accumulate there to form a particular soil type. We discussed the biological process where living things, animals, plants, and even human beings are involved in the soil formation. We said living organisms like the earthworm, which create holes in the soil. They even carry debris or dead bodies of plants and animals, grasses, into the soil, thereby enriching the soil with fertility. With organic matter, which make the soil to be fertile. My dear students, that we also discuss the factors affecting soil formation, in which we mention climate, parent materials, topography, living organism or biotic factor, and time. My dear listeners and students at home, that is the end of the lesson, and I believe strongly that you may have benefited from this discussion. But before I go, I want to leave you with an assignment. Here is the assignment. Question number 1. Define weathering and list its types. I take it again. Define weathering and list its types. Question number 2. List the agents of physical weathering and explain how they influence weathering. Question number 2. List the agents of physical weathering and explain how they influence weathering. Question number 3. Explain 5 factors that affect the formation of soil. Explain 5 factors that affect the formation of soil. And lastly, explain chemical and biological weathering. Explain chemical and biological weathering. For further references, you can get this information fully in these references. 1. Essential Agricultural Science for Senior Secondary Schools by Nwena. When the second one is Prescribed Agricultural Science for Senior Secondary Schools by S.A. Omori. My dear students, to submit your assignment, any question, contact us. I say us because I have my colleagues with their numbers. But I still remain Master Thomas Peter with the contact number 080-5121-6365. The contact number again, 080-5121-6365. Or you contact one of my colleagues, Rashida Umar, with the contact number 080-3451-3576. The contact number of Rashida Umar again, 080-3451-3576. I also have Sharifa T. Abubakar as one of my colleagues with the contact number 080-6829-3928. Again, 080-6829-3928. Stay home, stay safe, keep learning. COVID-19 is real. Thank you very much.